When I was an intern, the truth is I was pretty shy. One time, I saw an older man, who was deaf, waiting in the lobby for a long time, and nobody was paying any attention to him, so I approached him and greeted him using sign language. I had no idea that the CEO was watching me, much less who he really was. I was 23 years old, barely earning enough to rent a tiny studio apartment with broken air conditioning, and I was basically invisible at my job at a tech startup. I had been at Velocity Technologies for 4 months, and most people didn't even know my name. I spent my time refilling coffee pots, organizing things, and almost never opened my mouth in meetings. My only real skill was American Sign Language. I learned it at 12 because of my cousin Maya, who was born deaf. I didn't like seeing her sitting alone at family gatherings while everyone else chatted. I spent years taking courses at the community center, practicing until my hands hurt. By 16, Maya and I were having full conversations that no one else understood. That Tuesday, I was at my desk, right near the lobby, compiling data for a presentation I wasn't going to give in a million years. That was when I saw him. He was an older gentleman, around 70, wearing a worn-out brown jacket, standing next to the marble reception desk, trying to communicate in sign language with Brittany. He had white hair and a kind look, but I noticed he was getting desperate. His hands were making signs I recognized instantly. Brittany, speaking loudly as if that would help, was telling him she didn't understand and asking if he had an appointment, all while looking at her phone, clearly wanting him to leave. 3 employees in expensive suits walked by and didn't even acknowledge him. One even huffed in annoyance because, according to him, the man was in the way. It made me so angry because the exact same thing happened to Maya in restaurants, at the bank, everywhere. People just ignored her. Without thinking too much, I stood up and signed to him. "Hi, my name is Sophie. How can I help you?" His expression changed instantly. You could see the relief. He answered me incredibly fast. "Oh, thank you so much. I've been standing here for about 40 minutes. I'm looking for Jennifer Smith." Jennifer Smith. I felt my heart drop. Jennifer was the big boss, the one who built the company into a $200 million monster. And she was famous for being super reserved and intimidating. Nobody just walked in to see her. "I'll help you find her," I signed, pointing to the waiting area. "Have a seat. I'll bring you a glass of water." He thanked me in sign and told me I was very kind, saying that honestly, most people just pretended not to see him. I felt a lump in my throat. I got him comfortable, but I froze because I was going to have to go up to the executive floor without an appointment, and I was sure I was going to get fired. But still, seeing him sitting there with such dignity after 40 minutes of being ignored made me think of Maya again. I gathered my courage and went up to the 12th floor, trembling. Everything was glass up there, and there was a heavy silence. Daniel, Jennifer's assistant, almost rolled his eyes when he saw me. "Hi, I'm Sophie, from marketing. There's a gentleman downstairs asking for Jennifer Smith." Daniel replied, "Miss Smith doesn't see visitors without an appointment." "He's been waiting for 40 minutes, I said. "He's deaf. He can't just call." Just then, the door to Jennifer's office opened, and she came out in an impeccable black suit, phone in hand, with a look that didn't miss a thing. "What's going on?" she asked. "Ma'am, there's a gentleman downstairs. He's deaf. He's looking for you." As soon as she heard that, her expression changed. She lowered her phone, and I saw she actually got nervous. She went straight to the elevator. When we got to the lobby, she went to him without hesitation. They looked at each other, and immediately she took out her cell phone to type messages to him. They spent a good while communicating like that on the phone. Finally, Jennifer turned to me, her eyes all red. "You know sign language?" she asked. "Yes, I learned from my cousin." She looked at me as if I had solved her life problems. "My dad lost his hearing in an accident 6 months ago. He doesn't want to learn sign language. He says what's the point, that he's already old, and even though I've begged him, he just won't." Suddenly, her dad showed me his phone screen. Jennifer just stared at him, totally rigid. I asked her quietly, "What happened?" But she wouldn't turn around. She explained softly that her dad had a lunch with Jennifer written in his calendar every Wednesday for the past 6 months, but she never came down to see him. But he always came, ate alone in the cafeteria, marked the lunch as completed, and left. And he was happy, believing they really were eating together, thinking she was just always busy and that's why she didn't come down. I looked at the man smiling at Jennifer as if she had made his year. Suddenly, he signed something to me, and I automatically translated. He asked what we were going to order for lunch, because it had been a great week. Jennifer looked at me, waiting for the translation. In that moment, I felt that whatever I said could change the course of her story, or include me in their lives forever. My hands felt heavy as I signed to Robert. That's how I learned his name later, and I told him exactly what he wanted to hear. That Jennifer was asking what he wanted to eat and that she was happy to see him. I don't know how to describe his face. It was truly like someone who had been drowning for a while could finally surface and breathe. He got excited telling us how much he liked the chicken sandwich from the cafeteria, that it reminded him of a diner near his old apartment, and that he always asked for extra pickles because Jennifer used to steal them when she was a little girl. She clenched her jaw but smiled out of obligation. Robert didn't even notice. He was delighted, talking about how much he missed those meals because, for him, they were the best part of the week. I translated everything, even though my stomach was in knots. When Robert happily went to the cafeteria line, Jennifer pulled me aside and could barely say thank you. Her mascara was already running. And she told me as best she could. "I know this is a lot. I'll explain later. But right now, I just need to survive this lunch. Can you stay? I'll pay you overtime." "Whatever you need," I answered. "You don't have to pay me. I really want to help." She laughed, but it was full of sadness. "Believe me, after this you're going to want me to pay you." The meal felt eternal. Robert was happy, sitting opposite Jennifer in the bright cafeteria, telling her about everything. His garden, the friends he played cards with, a new pharmacy near his house. Daily stuff really, but again and again, he came back to Jennifer, to how proud he was of her, how he showed photos of her office to everyone. And even though he understood she was always busy, these meals were everything to him. Jennifer barely ate, only nodding at the right moments. She answered messages that I read to her, but she looked drained, as if every minute was wearing her down more. When Robert went to the restroom, Jennifer covered her face with her hands and whispered, "This was exactly my fear. Now he's going to want this to happen every week. He's going to get his hopes up." I only managed to reply, "Maybe it won't be so bad." Although I felt like my voice wouldn't even come out. "You can tell he loves you very much." She looked at me with eyes full of, "You have no idea what it's like." When Robert returned, we finished eating in silence. He hugged Jennifer for a long time before leaving, promising he would see her next Wednesday at the same time. Jennifer barely nodded. When he left, she asked me to accompany her to her office. So I followed her up to the 12th floor, crossing paths with Daniel's worried gaze, and we entered that huge corner office, full of windows overlooking the city. Jennifer went straight to pour herself a whiskey from a crystal bottle, even though it was barely 2 in the afternoon. "My dad is an incredible person," she said without even turning to look at me. "He's a good guy, generous. He volunteers at the animal shelter. He donates to every cause he comes across. Everyone loves Robert." She took a sip. "But also because of him, my mom left when I was 19. And because of him, I moved 3 times in my 20s. And because of him, I had to change my phone number twice. I didn't know how to respond. So I just stood there, uncomfortable. He gets obsessed with people. Especially with those he loves. When I was in college, he would call me 17 times a day. Literally 17. I counted them. He would appear out of nowhere in my dorm. He would bring me groceries I didn't even ask for. And he would start crying if my roommate told him I was at the library. He would stand outside my classes to surprise me with food." She poured more whiskey. "My mom put up with it for years. The daily flowers at work. His dramas if she wanted to go out with her friends. His emotional crises, if she didn't answer him in half an hour. When she finally left, he was destroyed. He couldn't understand what he had done wrong. Because according to him, he hadn't done anything wrong, right? He just loved her too much." I remembered Robert's joyful face in the cafeteria. "After my mom left, everything got worse with me," Jennifer continued. "I became the only thing he had left. Every achievement was his. Every job I got. Every promotion. He cried with pride, but also because he missed me. Because according to him, I was changing too much. That we were drifting apart. That I didn't need him anymore." Finally, she looked straight at me. I set boundaries. Very clear ones. I told him I loved him, but I couldn't be like this all the time. He said he was going to change. It lasted about 3 weeks, because then he started showing up at my office, at my apartment, always with some excuse. That he was in the area, asking if I wanted to grab a bite. It was suffocating, Sophie. Honestly, I couldn't even breathe. Then the accident happened, I asked softly. When he lost his hearing, I thought maybe that would help him, she admitted. That he would find something else to focus on. But he didn't want to learn sign language. He said there was no point. That he was too old to learn from scratch. She laughed with a bitterness that cut deep. I think he expected me to be his interpreter forever. That way he would always have me close. I felt a knot in my stomach. "And now he thinks you've been eating with him every Wednesday for 6 months. Because he sat in your lobby every Wednesday for who knows how long. Eating alone and pretending I was there." Jennifer put the glass on the desk. "Look, I know it sounds horrible. I know I'm the bad guy here. But I can't go on with this. I can't sit through those meals and look at his face knowing that if I can't make it one Wednesday, he's going to fall apart again. That he's going to call me again. Show up at my apartment. That he's going to dump the burden of his emotional well-being on me again. So then, what do you want me to do?" I asked. She looked super guilty. "I can pay you $200 per lunch. It's just eating with him on Wednesdays. Translating for him. Keeping him company. I can justify it by saying it's a company accessibility initiative or something like that. You can tell he really likes talking to you, and you've been super patient. You want me to go eat with your dad so you don't have to see him?" I asked without emotion. "Yes, I know how it sounds, like I want to pay you to be my replacement." She made a bitter grimace. "You're right, it's horrible and manipulative. Sorry. Forget what I said. I'll solve it another way. I should have said no right there. That she should fix her family problems herself. I should have walked out of her office and gone back to my desk. But I remembered Robert's face when I spoke to him in sign language. That relief. That happiness. And I remembered Maya. How lonely she was until I learned to communicate with her. "I'll do it," I heard myself say. "But only for a few weeks to help him adapt. But someday you have to tell him the truth." Jennifer looked so relieved she almost cried. "Thank you." "Really?" "And yes, I will tell him. I just need time." That was how I ended up being Robert's lunch companion every Wednesday. The first formal Wednesday he arrived exactly at 11:45. All dressed up in slacks and a well-ironed shirt, hair perfectly combed. He brought flowers, yellow carnations, and gave them to me. "They are for you," I replied in sign as well. "They are beautiful. You didn't have to bother. You are giving me your time, and I'm just an old man," he replied. "It's the least I can do." We went to the cafeteria, and honestly, at first, it was actually pleasant. Robert knew how to tell stories. He worked as an electrician for 40 years. He raised Jennifer alone after his wife left them. He sent her to college working 2 jobs. He told me how he taught her to ride a bike, to do science projects, how he sat in the very front row at her graduation. She was so smart, he told me in sign, with a look full of nostalgia. The best of them all. I knew she was going to do something important. I just didn't imagine it would be this. He pointed to the building. "Sometimes I see her on TV talking about technology, and I can't even believe this is my daughter." "You must be very proud," I signed to him. "Very," he replied. But then his face changed, and he got serious. "I just wish she still had time for me. I understand she's busy, that she's building her own empire. You know. But sometimes I call her, and days go by without an answer. Or she sends me a text instead of calling. As if she couldn't spare 5 minutes to talk to me. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. She changed after college. Robert continued. Everything became her career. She started hanging out with guys in suits who talk about investments. She stopped coming to the house on Sundays. She didn't call just to chat anymore. He looked very sad. I don't judge her. Success changes people, but I missed the girl she was before. And that was the first sign. And I didn't even see it coming. In the weeks that followed, he told me his whole life, his childhood in Ohio, that he got married at 22, that his wife left when Jennifer was a teenager. He talked a lot about how lonely he was, how quiet the house was, that all his friends had died or moved to Florida, that Jennifer was the only thing he had left. You remind me of her, he told me in Sign one Wednesday, of how she was before all this. He gestured to the office. With a kindness and patience that really made you feel she was interested in what an older person had to say. It felt nice that someone made you feel important, that saw you as someone valuable and not invisible. I started to look forward to Wednesdays with joy. The truth is, Robert always had some story to tell me, and he always asked about my life. He remembered details from our previous conversations. How is Maya? He would ask in Sign. Did the landlord fix the AC yet? Did you see that movie I recommended? About the 6th week, my cell phone rang on a Thursday afternoon. It was a number I didn't have saved. I was about to not answer, but something made me take the call. It was Robert. He explained that he got my number from the company directory, that he just wanted to say hi and know how my week was going. Oh, I said slowly, so he could read my lips over FaceTime. Hi, Robert. I'm fine. And you? I feel very lonely, he signed. I was thinking about our lunch yesterday, and I realized I'm going to have to wait 6 days to talk to you again. I hope you don't mind that I called you. It's okay, I replied. Because, well, what else could I say? He looked so hopeful. We stayed talking for 20 minutes. He showed me his garden on the camera, his tomato plants and the rose bushes. He asked me about my day. He told me about the card game he had that night and how he won $20. You are very easy to talk to, he signed. Jennifer hardly ever talks to me like before. She's always running from meeting to meeting or on calls. But you actually listen to me. When I hung up, I was left with a strange sensation, although I couldn't say why. I thought he was just lonely, right? And that I was just being kind. That couldn't be wrong. He called again on Saturday, then on Tuesday, and then he started calling me almost daily just to chat. The conversation started getting longer. 30, 45 minutes, up to an hour. Showing me his house, his photo albums, collections of old coins and stamps. He always told me about Jennifer, about how much he loved her, how successful she was, how much he missed her, about how everything was better before. She used to tell me everything, he signed once. When she was younger, we were inseparable. I was her best friend. Now she hardly tells me anything. I find out about her life on the news. Have you told her how you feel? I asked. I've tried. He signed. But she gets defensive. She says I exaggerate, that I'm too needy. You could see the pain. I just love my daughter. Is that wrong? I didn't know what to tell him. At the next Wednesday lunch, Robert was especially animated. He brought me coffee from my favorite coffee shop. I mentioned it casually weeks ago, and somehow he remembered my order exactly. Vanilla latte with oat milk and an extra shot. This is very thoughtful, I signed, really moved. I paid attention to you, he replied smiling. You said it helps you concentrate in the morning. We ate, and Robert told me about his week, although he always went back to talking about Jennifer, that he tried to call her on Tuesday and she didn't answer, that he sent her a message with something he thought she would like, and only received a thumbs up emoji. I know she's busy, he signed. But just a thumbs up? I'm her dad. I felt trapped. I knew Jennifer was up to her neck in work. She had told me about a major launch, but I also saw how much Robert suffered from loneliness. Maybe you could propose scheduling fixed calls, I suggested. That way she knows when you will talk and can set aside the time. Robert's face darkened. I shouldn't have to schedule time to talk to my daughter. We used to talk naturally, like you and me. That comparison made me uncomfortable, but I tried to ignore it. That was when I noticed Robert started appearing on days other than Wednesday. I would run into him in the lobby when I arrived at 9, sitting in the same armchair reading the newspaper, or on Fridays in the cafeteria, alone at a table near the elevators. Brittany, in the break room, mentioned it to me. That guy comes almost daily now. Is he working on something for the company or what? He's just visiting, I replied, without giving details. Well, yesterday he asked for you, she told me. He wanted to know what time you go out for lunch. I didn't tell him because honestly it seemed kind of weird to me, you know? I felt my stomach turn. Yeah, that is weird. I tried to convince myself that Robert was just lonely, that the building is public, and technically he wasn't doing anything wrong. But then I went for coffee at the same coffee shop, the one where he got me coffee. And there he was, sitting in the corner, with a smile as soon as he saw me enter. Sophie, he signed excitedly. What a coincidence. I was just in the neighborhood and remembered you told me about this place. My neighborhood is 20 minutes from his house. I know because he once showed me on Google Maps. Robert, hi, I signed smiling, though it was more out of obligation. Yes, I come here now and then. Do you want to sit down? He signed. It would make me very happy if you joined me. I was going to eat alone, and this is much better. I wanted to say no. Invent that I had a friend waiting, or a lot of work. But he looked so hopeful, and there were people watching. I didn't want to seem rude, so I sat down. During the meal, Robert talked about how much he valued our talks, that I was one of the few people who really understood him now. And he showed me photos on his phone, images of little Jennifer at birthday parties, graduations, family vacations. She was so happy then, he signed, pointing to a photo of Jennifer at about 8 years old with a crooked tooth smile, before she thought success was more important than her family. I don't think that's fair, I replied carefully. Jennifer works a lot, But of course she cares about you. Robert's face changed. You're defending her. I'm just saying it's not that simple. She pays you to eat with me. He signed suddenly. Did you think I wouldn't realize? I'm old, not stupid. She pays you because she isn't interested in being with me. I felt my face burning. Robert, it's not like that, I signed, but his hands moved fast and with anger. At least you're honest, at least you show up. Then his tone softened. You are better company than her. Always glued to the cell phone, always distracted, but you actually listen. That compliment felt like a trap, although I didn't know how to get out of there. After lunch, I sent a message to Jennifer. I need to talk to you. She called me in 5 minutes. What happened? I told her everything. The calls. That Robert started appearing at the office on other days. The coffee shop thing. Jennifer kept silent for a long time. He's at it again. Again what? Fixating on someone, she answered. He finds someone nice, and little by little he gets into their life until, without realizing it, he absorbs everything about that person. That was what he did to my mom, to his former neighbors, and also to my roommate in college. He became her friend and started calling her all the time, asking her things about me, wanting to know every detail of my life. In the end, she ended up blocking him. I'm sure he just feels lonely, I said, although even I noticed I didn't sound convinced at all. Sophie, listen to me please, Jennifer insisted, and you could hear the desperation in her tone. My dad isn't a bad person. He doesn't do it with bad intentions or to control anyone. He really doesn't realize what he's doing. But he has no idea how to set boundaries. He has never known how to do it. When he cares about someone, he needs to have access all the time. He has an urgent need to be reassured. And the more he receives, the more he wants. So what do you want me to do? Set boundaries for him, she answered bluntly. Do it now, before it gets worse. Believe me. It always gets worse. I tried. The following Wednesday I ate with Robert and explained to him in the best way possible that we could only continue seeing each other at work lunches. Nothing else, no calls during the week, no seeing each other outside the office. Since I told him, I saw his world crumble. Really? His eyes watered, and his hands trembled while he answered me. Did I do something wrong? He asked in sign. Sorry if I called too much. I know I can be too much, Jennifer always tells me. It's what everyone ends up saying. You didn't do anything wrong, I signed, feeling like the cruelest person on the planet. I just need to set certain boundaries for my mental health. Boundaries, he signed with bitterness. That was exactly what Jennifer said before she stopped talking to me, just like my wife before leaving. Boundaries just means you don't want to have me around anymore. That is not what I am saying. I am a burden, he signed, now letting the tears fall. Some people were already looking at us. I have always been a burden. Too needy. Too emotional. Too much of everything. I understand. Robert, please. It's okay. He signed abruptly, standing up. I'll leave you alone like everyone wants. Sorry for bothering you. He walked out of the cafeteria, and I stayed there, feeling as if I had kicked a puppy. I got dirty looks from the office. Even an older lady approached to ask me if I was okay, as if insinuating that maybe I had done something nasty to the poor man. I wrote to Jennifer. I tried to set boundaries, and he fell apart. Yes, she replied. He's great at that. I felt terrible, with a knot of guilt in my chest. So, when Robert called me crying that night, apologizing for being so intense and promising he was going to change, telling me that I was the only person who still made him feel human, I couldn't take it anymore. It's okay, I told him. Let's keep talking. I overreacted a bit. Really? He signed over FaceTime, wiping his tears. Seriously? Yes. Although better just a couple of times a week. Okay? Just to see how we're doing. He accepted immediately, thanking me 1,000 times. But by the following week, he was calling me daily again. Sometimes up to twice a day. Always apologizing. Always thanking me. Always telling me he just wanted to talk for 5 minutes. And we ended up talking for an hour. At the next Wednesday lunch, Robert showed off his cell phone wallpaper. A photo of us from the previous week. Me talking in sign. Him smiling. I didn't even remember he had taken it. I hope you don't mind, he signed. I showed it to my friends at the card club. I already told them everything about you. They are shocked that in Jennifer's company there are such cool people. You talk to your friends about me? I asked. Obviously he signed. They even ask about you every week. They want to know how you are. Sometimes I show them photos. He started showing me on his phone at least a dozen photos that I didn't even know existed. Me laughing, talking, eating. Robert, you can't be taking photos without telling me. That's not okay, I told him. Sorry, he signed very fast. I just wanted to keep the moments together. You have become like family to me, Sophie. Is that okay? Can I see you as family? And I know. Honestly, right there I should have felt the alerts going off at full volume. But the way he said it, so hopeful and vulnerable, I couldn't say anything mean. Sure, I signed, but super weakly. Like family. He smiled so big it seemed like he was going to light up the whole building. That night I called Maya and told her everything. Sophie, she told me slowly. This guy sounds like he has a serious attachment issue. He's just lonely. His wife left him. His daughter hardly talks to him. Look, it's not your job to fix his life, Maya interrupted me. You are 23 years old. He is a 70-year-old man who is loading the responsibility of his emotional well-being onto you, and that is not right. But he has no one else, and of course that hurts. But being nice doesn't mean letting someone. Loneliness isn't a sin, but you don't have to sacrifice your boundaries to fix it either. I feel terrible. You aren't a bad person. You are compassionate. But one thing is being nice, and another is being someone's emotional hostage. And from what you tell me, this guy doesn't respect your boundaries. He just gets better at making you feel guilty for having them. I knew she was right. Deep down I knew it. But I also felt that cutting Robert off was going to destroy him. and I wasn't sure I could handle that guilt. The following week, I tried to put distance again. Subtly, I stopped answering some calls. I sent them to voicemail, and my replies by text were already short. Robert didn't get angry, but you could tell he was restless, even anxious. He started leaving me messages, asking if I was okay, if he had done something wrong, if I was mad at him. His messages weren't rude, just sad, increasingly sad. Sophie, it's Robert. I haven't heard from you for 2 days and I'm worried. Please, call me when you can. I just want to know you're okay. Hi, it's me again. Surely you are busy. But I had a horrible nightmare where something happened to you, and I can't get it out of my head. Please, at least send me a message so I know everything is fine. Sophie, sorry if I have been calling you a lot. I know I do it. I know I am too needy. But you are the only person with whom I can really talk right now. Everyone else has already left. Please, don't leave too. On the 6th day without answering him, he came to the office. He didn't arrive angry. He arrived shattered. Brittany warned me that he was looking for me at reception. There was Robert, sitting in the usual chair, with red eyes and trembling hands. As soon as he saw me, he stood up so fast he almost fell. Are you okay? He asked me, anguished in sign. I was super worried because you weren't answering. I thought something had happened to you or that you were sick or... I'm fine, Robert. I signed to him. I've just been busy. Busy, he repeated. And I could see something break in his face. Yes, busy. Like Jennifer always is. It's not that. I understand, he replied with gestures. I am too much. Everyone says it. My wife said it. Jennifer says it. And now you. His hands moved slowly, as if they were heavy. From the beginning, I should have imagined I shouldn't trust someone who was only kind to me because they were being paid. Those words hurt me as if I had been slapped. That's not fair, is it? He signed. Jennifer gives you $200 a week to eat with her sad dad. Because she is neither interested nor has the time. And now even you don't want to do it. Robert. Enough. It doesn't matter, he signed while turning his back on me. I understand. I have always understood. I am too much for people. I always ask for a lot. I want a lot. In the end, everyone realizes they can't handle me, and they leave. My wife left. My daughter left. Now you too. He walked towards the door, and I stayed standing there. Like frozen. Feeling like the worst person. Brittany was watching me from her desk. What did you do to that sweet old man? I wanted to scream. I wanted to explain that the only thing I had done was treat someone very lonely with kindness, and everything got out of control. But I just returned to my seat and opened my email. Leaving work, Jennifer was already waiting for me at the entrance. Robert called me, she blurted out directly, crying because according to him you abandoned him. I didn't abandon him. I just didn't answer all his calls anymore. And he took it as if I had rejected him completely. That is how he reacts. Jennifer looked exhausted, with tremendous dark circles under her eyes. That's why I set boundaries from the beginning. Because with him everything is extreme. Either all or nothing. Either you are there always, or you are already leaving him. There is no middle ground. He makes me feel horrible for wanting to have space, I told her. That has been my whole life, Jennifer murmured. That's why I stopped talking to him. Because I felt I couldn't even breathe. Any boundary was a betrayal for him. Every time I needed time for myself, it was because I was being cold. Because I was changing. Because I preferred my job over family. He doesn't stop talking about you, I told her. About how you say you were different before. About how you needed him. Jennifer let out a bitter laugh. Yes. Of course I needed him. As a child, I needed him a lot. And he loved feeling indispensable. But when I grew up and started making my own decisions, living my life, he didn't know how to handle it anymore. Because he never really wanted a daughter. He wanted someone who needed him all her life. That sounds very harsh, I told her. It is what it is, she replied. My therapist says he has a panic of abandonment since my mom left. That's why he clings so hard and ends up suffocating people. Until they can't stand it anymore and leave him too. That just confirms to him what he believes, that everyone abandons him and he ends up alone. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I thought of the face Robert made when he told me everyone leaves in the end. That face of resignation, as if he already knew it had to be that way. So, what do I do? I asked. Cut it off completely, said Jennifer. Don't go around in circles anymore. Either you put a definitive stop to it, or you accept that he is going to absorb you little by little, until you also can't take it anymore and leave. There is no other way. That same night I blocked Robert's number. Then I felt guilty and unblocked it. And then I blocked it again. I didn't sleep a wink. The next day voicemails started arriving. My phone kept blocking the calls, but the messages were saved in another folder. I fell into the temptation of listening to one. Sophie, I know you are angry with me. Sorry, truly. Sorry for whatever I did. Just tell me where I messed up and I'll fix it. I can change. I swear. Just don't shut me out. It's been 3 days without hearing from you. And I can't stop thinking about the last thing we talked about. I go over it again and again. To see if I find where I failed. Was it when I talked to you about the photos? I know that made you uncomfortable. It won't happen again. Please, give me one more chance. I'm starting to think you are just like Jennifer. That you use me when you want and throw me away when I'm too much for you. I thought you were different. That you cared. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe I'm simply not someone who can be loved. That was what my wife told me when she left. That loving me was very tiring. That I needed too much reassurance, too much attention, too much everything. Maybe she was right. Maybe everyone is right. He continued sending messages like that for 2 weeks. Increasingly sad and more resigned. Until finally. I understand now. You aren't going to answer. You are doing the same as Jennifer. The same as everyone. And I don't even blame you. I know well who I am. I know I am a lot. I just wanted you to know that the lunches with you have been the happiest I have been in years, even if for you they meant nothing. For me, they were everything. Goodbye, Sophie. I cried when I listened to that last message, and then I got angry with myself for crying. It was manipulation, or he just wanted to make me feel guilty for wanting to set boundaries, but he also sounded sincerely broken. I held out one more week before the guilt won. I unblocked him just to send him a message. Robert, I'm sorry. I just need space. You didn't do anything wrong. I hope you are well. He answered almost immediately. I understand. Thanks for at least having the decency to say goodbye. Jennifer didn't even do that. I blocked him again before he continued with another message. At work, I started avoiding the lobby. I took the stairs. I ate at my desk. I didn't want to even cross paths with him. 2 weeks later, Jennifer came to my desk. He called me again, she told me, and she looked exhausted. Every day, sometimes many times, crying because he says you abandoned him, that everyone abandons him, that he doesn't understand what he did wrong. Sorry, I told her. Feeling awful. Don't apologize. I just want you to understand something. She sat on the edge of my desk. This is what he does. It has always been like this. He finds someone who has patience and clings to them. When that person sets any boundary, he collapses and makes them responsible for his pain. My mom lasted 20 years before breaking. I made it almost to 30. You lasted 3 months. I felt like the worst. You should feel relieved, said Jennifer. You got out in time before he absorbed you completely. Before you saw yourself making decisions thinking about if they would hurt Robert. Before leaving friendships because he needed you. Before you couldn't even go on vacation without him calling you crying. Did you ever tell him the truth? I asked. About the lunches? Yes. After you stopped answering his phone? Jennifer put on a serious face. He told me he always knew I was paying you. That he isn't stupid. Still, he appreciated that I had worried enough to find someone to accompany him. Even if it was out of obligation. That is incredibly sad. He also told me that in 3 months you have been kinder to him than I managed in 30 years. So now you know. Jennifer got up. Look, I know you feel bad. But you didn't do anything wrong. You were just nice to a lonely man. And he wanted to turn that gesture into something you never promised him. That is his business. Not yours. I wanted to believe her. But I couldn't get Robert out of my head. Sitting in the lobby for 6 months. Eating alone and crossing days off the calendar. As if he really was next to his daughter. The following Monday, I handed in my resignation with 2 weeks' notice. Jennifer didn't even try to make me stay. New beginning? She asked. Yes. New beginning. My last day was Friday. I was packing my things when Brittany called me from the lobby. Is there someone here for you? I felt my soul drop to the floor. Who is it? He didn't say his name. It's an older man. He says it's important. I was about to not go down. I almost called security. But something made me take the elevator one last time. Robert was standing next to the windows. He looked smaller than I remembered. Older. But at the same time more fragile. When he saw me, he didn't smile. He just made a sign for me to come closer. I didn't come to make you feel bad. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I stood there thinking. That you're sorry? My daughter told me I made you feel uncomfortable. That I called too much. That I came too often. In that moment I didn't notice. Or maybe I did and ignored it because I felt very lonely. He moved his hands with delicacy. Slowly. You were kind to me when no one else was. And I, instead of appreciating it, loaded the responsibility of my happiness onto you. It wasn't fair. Robert. I am seeking help, he told me, making a sign. A therapist. Jennifer helped me find one. He is a specialist in this type of thing. Attachment issues. That's what he calls it. He smiled at me with sadness. I am 70 years old, and barely learning to be alone without making others pay for it. That's good, I signed. I'm glad. I wanted you to know that I appreciate you, even though things didn't end well. Those lunches meant a lot to me. You showed me your kindness when you had no obligation to do so. That has a lot of value. He didn't wait for me to answer. He just nodded. He turned around and left. I stayed standing there in the lobby long after he left, thinking about how the loneliness of some people is a void that not even all the kindness in the world can fill. I walked out through the glass doors into the light of the afternoon and didn't look back. Thanks for staying until the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next story.